they are centering one of the most pivotal moments of this entire WrestleMania story around a celebrity because he's famous, because he's got, I don't know, a show with some reach. And it just continues to just reek of their celebrity dick riding and their desperation for mainstream attention. So we start things off here with Randall Keith Orton. He comes out here and, of course, he's been getting a babyface reaction pretty much everywhere. But of course, tonight it is to be expected, being in his hometown in St. Louis, Missouri. Orton comes out, he's smiling, and he says, "St. Louis, Missouri. So what do you want to talk about?" And he says he still calls this place home, but he's not doing this for all of you. I'm doing it for my family and for me. Even though, like he says this, he still gets cheered for it. This crowd will not turn on him no matter what. He says Cody will leave WrestleMania empty-handed, and the crowd, of course, goes wild at that. Orton says the voices are talking to Cody too. What Steph said to you on Monday was true. You're not a killer. So out comes Cody Rhodes. And then, of course, instead of doing any talking, they engage in yet another brawl here. And there are a ton of boos for Cody in this instance, when all of a sudden, Pat McAfee comes out. He's wearing a Randy Orton t-shirt. He storms in wearing sunglasses and looking a little bit aloof before punting Cody Rhodes in the balls. Pat then starts cutting a promo on St. Louis sports teams. He tells foreign Adam Pearce to shut up, and he talks. So he's turned heel. He's giving us the reason why. He talks about the Q&A where he talked about the business passing him by and that he might not return to the WWE. And he said that because he thought the direction of this business had gone to shit. He talks about the forgotten Attitude Era fan, the fans who this company forgot about. Why does he have to watch two 5'5" guys do a 45-minute Iron Man match for 10 weeks straight for no rhyme or reason when Randy Orton is around? Why does he have to turn on Netflix and see all of Gorilla blank something expletive that was censored episode after episode when Randy Orton is around? Tickets for WrestleMania are still around somehow when Randy Orton is around. SmackDown. I'm not making this up. This is not me doing a John Pollock, sort of make fun of this segment.
No, this is what he said.
He says, SmackDown, fresh off the lowest rated episode of all time, has a puppet for a champion who represents everything that we hate. He tells Cody Rhodes, I was the one on the phone telling Orton he has to kill everything, not just for the title, but because the business you're leading is terrible. And he is going to save this fucking business. And this was St. Louis, which might have been the best option for a promo like this because the crowd responded cheering. This was Randy Orton. This was somebody helping their hometown favorite in Randy Orton. But my God, Neil, I thought this was absolutely awful.
This was dog shit of this, and I'm not one for the epic rant ever, really, but I could not believe what I was watching. This to me was fine up until Pat McAfee appeared. Randy is this badass guy at the minute who is leaning into the voices in his head, all of that, and the crowd are loving him for it. And he doesn't have to turn on them. I mean, earlier on, he was sort of saying, it wasn't like you people, I hate you people, you don't matter to me. It was kind of, I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for those 6 people. And he pointed to his family who were in the front row. And all of that was really working. The crowd were getting behind him. And so he's in this really interesting tweener kind of role for me. And they booed Cody. And in St. Louis, that's probably, what you might even expect. In Vegas, who knows what you might get? You might get a sort of a 50-50. But here we have Pat McAfee coming out of the clear blue sky. Nobody thought this was going to be the guy on the phone, with good reason, because it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. He runs down the product, as Way mentioned, with real facts.
Were they real though?
Wow, he's shooting, brother. Well, of course they weren't really real. I mean, please direct me to the episode where there are 2 5'5" wrestlers doing 45-minute Iron matches.
That I took obviously an exaggeration, but like I take it to like maybe infer to what Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, having maybe a lengthier match than usual. Okay, fine. My sort of like question of what he would bring up in this promo is SmackDown is coming off of its lowest rating of all time, the lowest rated episode of all time. So what is that from? Last week, the show did a 0.33. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even the lowest of the month. I mean, on March 6th, they did a 0.27. On Halloween, they did a 0.20. 0.33 in comparison is actually not a bad number whatsoever. So what is Pat saying here? Why would he like suggest this to an audience that obviously would not really know any better?
It makes no sense. And I wonder how much of this was absolutely scripted for him. Like you must drop in this fact, and I put that in inverted commas, or how much was left to his imagination.
So somebody in the chat here is suggesting he might be talking about a cage match. In which case, I haven't confirmed. Maybe while you talk a little bit more, Neil, I shall maybe look it up. But like, that would be even more laughable.
That would be even funnier. That this guy who cares about, about the fans who remember the Attitude Era, who got up in the morning wanting to shout what at everybody, and who wanted to talk about, replicate.
He was talking about cage match because Friday Night SmackDown from March 27th was rated a 2.43 on cage match out of 100 votes. All right, so 100 people voted, and that was enough to make this into the crux of Pat McAfee's reason for turning heel. And I would suggest maybe confusing a lot of people to not really realize he's talking about cage match, instead maybe thinking about him talking about the actual television ratings of this show.
I would say confusing the entire audience. Is 100 self-selecting people deciding what to rate on cage match, and the average WWE viewer does not know what cagematch.net is. So for him to say the lowest rating or the lowest rated SmackDown without sort of specifying that it's on this fans, we all know about cage match. Our loyal listeners and you and I know about it. I don't know how well known it is across this.
This is even worse than I thought. Oh my God. Yeah.
And it's because it's so outside the mainstream, which is what he's talking about when he's going on about.
Well, it sounds worse.
Attitude Era.
Like, okay, fine. I understand. He's supposed to play the internet nerd, I guess, right? Like the guy who's complaining about the modern product because he wants the Attitude Era back. Yeah, sure. That might be the type of fan in Pat McAfee's mind that he's trying to parody, who also cares about cage match ratings. I mean, fine, but like it certainly didn't land for me, somebody who actively is a part of a cage match perhaps viewing audience. So it sounded way worse than I think like he was intending. Let's talk about the reveal of Pat McAfee itself. First of all, the reveal is disappointing in and of itself. You're talking about, like, for me, I thought they were heavily hinting somebody on the level of a Dwayne Johnson. John was completely adamant that like it wasn't going to be him, and maybe I should have felt that way, but I certainly feel like a lot of people in the audience could have suspected a star to that level, if not Dwayne. I don't know, like a Stephanie even, I feel like would have been a more sensible, dramatic direction than what this is.
A kind of new take on it was me all along, kind of thing, with Whatever. Stephanie reprising a role from SmackDown. It was actually her. That would work. That would be better for me if they're going to do and I'm sorry if I've cut you off in mid.
No, please.
But
we're going to spend the whole podcast just talking about this.
If they're going to do the mystery call, at this point I'm like, this mystery caller thing was a huge whiff. It was a huge mistake because this feud has been cheapened by it. It's fine without it. There's 20 years of history between these two guys. There's lots and lots of stuff to mine. I think it would be really interesting to see the audience dynamics in who they boo and who they cheer with these versions of these characters. But they went down the mystery caller route, and I just feel like of all the options they had, Pat McAfee, who what we know about from WWE, is a gigantic WWE fan and a gigantic fan of the modern product, because he's been sitting at that, not so long ago, he's sitting at that desk,
Yeah.
hyping it every week. So this is also completely unbelievable, this heel turn. It's just got no basis in anything you could hang your hat on.
To me, the worst part of this is that it continues to signal that this is a company and this is a regime that continues to bow to the feet of anybody with any sort of like mainstream success outside of this company. And you saw that throughout this entire episode. This, to me, was showing that they clearly did not learn from much of the critical mistakes that they made last year with a Travis Scott. They are centering one of the most pivotal moments of this entire WrestleMania story around a celebrity, because he's famous, because he's got, I don't know, a show with some reach. And it just continues to just reek of their celebrity dick riding and their desperation for mainstream attention. And let's talk about the promo in itself. Like, first, his motive. Like, I'm trying to hold it together. He's trying to take Cody Rhodes down on behalf of Attitude Era fans that this company has forgotten about. And I suppose that an Attitude Era fan would hate the idea that, cruiserweights are now getting like lengthy matches on television. So what the fuck does Cody Rhodes have to do with that? How would putting Randy Orton in the championship role somehow fix that? It's not like Cody's a cruiserweight, and like, his loose sort of reasoning for wanting to take Cody down is that Cody is the leader of this current regime. But I just don't think that holds enough weight, to justify the heel turn, or just really like this sort of big moment in a WrestleMania main event type of story.
Not even remotely close, because there's hardly any logic that you can hang on this. Like you said, like, he's blaming Cody for the fact that he preferred the Attitude Era and now Cody is the champion on one of the brands, and they're going to save the fucking business by making Randy. Honestly, it's like mid 2010s TNA, late stage WCW. They'll never see it coming, bro. Or we don't even have to go back that far. Travis Scott all over again. Except I will give them this: Pat will hang around, unlike Travis Scott. He's unlikely to burst Cody's eardrum like Travis Scott did, but it's really not much better. As from a storyline point of view, this is totally illogical.
This sort of like, I don't know, this work shoot sort of like, balancing act that, I feel like 25 years on from like WCW, we've certainly grown a lot from, and I think like that it could be done well, throwing in hints. This felt like a complete, devolving into like just like the basest level of understanding of what makes a work shoot work versus fail. And this was like what was continued to like baffle me in listening to this promo was like, this is a company that is so like insistent on hiding its own weaknesses and emphasizing its strengths. Yet you had Pat McAfee here basically call out WrestleMania's weak ticket sales by saying somehow WrestleMania tickets are still available, and yet Randy Orton is still available. Calling out weak ratings for the show, even though like I guess he was referring to cage match, but the insinuation at least the suggestion is that like the show is coming off of weak ratings, television ratings. So that to me made no sense. It's inconsistent with the Pat McAfee character, who has one of the most beloved buffoons in this entire world. So like, good luck getting people to cheer it. It just felt hollow. It felt like it was a celebrity wrestling fan cosplaying as a bad guy, with a very sort of like, hey, look at me, I'm the bad guy type of promo, insulting the sports teams, rather than something that needs to feel real and genuine, especially for a WrestleMania level main event.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's just what it goes to show, like you said, is this company seems to put celebrity integration above all else. Never mind that this story would have been better without him. Never mind that the match would probably be better without him sniping around from the the ring apron, which he will be, and maybe we get Jelly Roll on the other side.
Jelly Roll would have been a better reveal than this. I mean,
he would actually, yeah, that would have been a proper kind of
at least like Jelly Roll has like teased knowing both of these guys. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, almost anything would have been better than this. Is so unbelievable, and wrestling is unbelievable, but that's the key to our fandom, is the ability to suspend your disbelief, and that takes a good story and some good crafting behind the story, and there's absolutely zero of that here. I just really, really disliked it. The other thing is, I was wondering to some degree, is this because I'm in Europe and Pat McAfee is not outside of WWE, I don't really have much exposure to Pat McAfee. I never watch his show on YouTube. I'm not that interested in North American sports, so I don't see him on college. I don't know if I could watch him on college football coverage, even if I wanted to, because it doesn't really get much traction in Britain, etc. So I really only know Pat from this. He's not a big star in the UK in the way that he might be in the US.
The thing is, though, he's already a part of this world. And what do you stand to gain from Pat McAfee that you wouldn't have gained otherwise? What, some mentions on his podcast, an angle on his podcast, which you could have done anyway? So this is a move that continues to baffle me. I don't think it's going to move any significant amount of tickets, if any. I think it'll deter people from who might have been sitting on the fence about possibly going to this WrestleMania at seeing this poor creative. I feel like it'll actually be like, no, I'm out. I'm I'd forget your sale. I don't care. This is something I'm actively, rebelling against.
I'd love to have a counterpoint for you, Way, even a theoretical one, but I don't, because I feel like this program would be so much better without this.
Yeah.
I know I've said, I don't want to repeat myself. I've said it a couple of times, but I just think this actually actively ruins this program and potentially this match.
I would love to know if Pat McAfee was the first choice when they started this whole story, or there possibly could have been somebody else, because to me, that's the only explanation.
I've seen some early theorizing online that this is an integration thing with Endeavor and Ari Emanuel, because the two of them are friends, the two of them that are linked. I think Ari actually represents him in some direction.
Well, more on this later, because that is now evidently a part of the storyline as well, because the second half of this will be Cody Rhodes' retort, which I have plenty of thoughts about.
Yes.
Coming up a little bit later on in this review. Man.
Yeah, one of the worst things I've seen on WWE television in a really long time. Actively puts me off.
And we are the calm ones, everybody. Okay, neither of us have John Pollock energy. All right, we are the calm ones here. Look how livid we both are.
Yeah, furious.
It is WrestleMania month at postwrestling.com. Wei Ting and John Pollock go live all WrestleMania week beginning Monday, April the 13th. Sign up for the Post Wrestling Cafe and you will get live shows all week long leading into our coverage that weekend of WrestleMania 42. This month, we're also bringing you reviews of Spring Break 2 from New Orleans in 2018 and a special Patrons Pick edition of Rewind Away. Sign up now at postwrestlingcafe.com, and this month, new subscribers get 50% off for the first month. Head on over to postwrestlingcafe.com.